Welcome back. It's exactly 9:53 a.m. This is News and Views on Salam Media. We are going out live, and we're next going to be talking about the 16 days of activism of no violence against women and children. And I kind of even ask myself, should we even be talking about this? We should be in a society where all people's rights are respected and well regarded, and we shouldn't be having these type of discussions. But sadly, sad to say, there are a whole host of issues that actually manifests in these type of discussions happening and these type of actions against innocent women and children. And of course, this starts as of the 25th of November and it goes on right up until the 10th of December. But we shouldn't be reserving this specific time to raise these issues. We as women should continue raising our voices to stop the violence against women and girls. And to talk to us about this very important matter today is Head Executive at National Shelter Movement of South Africa, and that is you, Dr. Zubeda Dangor. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program.
Walaikum assalam, Julie. Wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me. And good morning to your listeners as well.
I seem to think that we spoke about a year ago on another platform, and here we are once again talking about something we shouldn't be talking about because it shouldn't be happening in our communities, which brings me to the all-important question regarding this scourge on humanity. Why does it happen? You know, what is wrong with society that we have violence of different types, all forms of violence, physical, mental, emotional, financial, and other forms of violence against women and children? Over to you, Zubeda. You are the expert.
Well, I think that, this is a problem that has persisted over many, many, many decades, not only in South Africa, but the world over. However, in South Africa, we have one of the highest rates of gender-based violence in the world. We know that, over the last 20 years, 10,972 women have been killed. So this is a real serious matter. And I think there are a number of reasons, there are multiple reasons for why gender-based violence occurs in our country in particular. Of course, one is certainly patriarchy. Two is that we live in a society that has been very violent based on apartheid and colonialism. And with that came the impact of gender-based violence in South Africa. And these norms have become entrenched in our lives. And we haven't really changed our value system completely to be able to respect women and children right across the country. It starts at a very basic level with respect. And we'll find today, even on social media, women are really dealt with in a very misogynistic way.
So, Dr. Zubeda Dangor, let's ask the all-important question. The significance of 16 Days of Activism campaign, why is it observed globally? And you and I've talked over the years regarding this specific matter. Despite those discussions that you and I and millions of other people, advocacy groups as well, have been addressing this, it seems as if the situation is not improving. It seems to be getting worse. Why do you suppose that is happening?
We're not winning this fight.
Sure.
I think gender-based violence has been with us. I've been working in this field for 30 years, and the wheels of change have been extremely slow to actually turn. But coming back to the 16 days of activism, The idea is to revitalize our commitment to eradicate gender-based violence, both nationally and globally. We also need to really review the impact of the work we do in South Africa on gender-based violence and to evaluate how far we've come as a country, as a collective. And it's really important that we continue to raise awareness on gender-based violence and femicide norms, issues of equality and patriarchy. And then we also need to be able to engage men and boys in this very important discussion.
Dr. Dangor, how does gender based violence affect communities beyond just the victims? Is it kind of secondary trauma? And uh, are there other issues at play here as well?
Yes, absolutely. When it comes to communities, it's not only the victims that are affected. We know that the impact of gender based violence is very far reaching. Children in families are being affected in an undescribable way. You know, these children are struggling and they then often grow up to become perpetrators of violence. And it's not only the children, it's also family members of the survivor of violence that really struggle. Then we know that the myths and stereotypes that exist actually continue to perpetuate violence in our communities. And this doesn't help because we then end up blaming women. When women are killed, the long term impact is really horrendous. And just this year in South Africa, here in Gauteng, a woman was murdered by her partner. But not only that, her partner was also, her friend was murdered together with her because she went over to her friend's place to get some help. And the partner came and set them alight. The consequence was that the one woman was in hospital for over a week with burns that were really unbelievable, and the doctors couldn't help. And the second woman was in hospital for 2 weeks, after which both of them died. The consequence, the woman who was killed by her partner has a 9-year-old daughter. And can you imagine how this child has to face her life on a day-to-day basis, knowing that her mother was murdered in this way? Her
And,
grandmother is struggling to deal with this issue.
and despite numerous counseling sessions, I don't think you ever get over the loss, the hurt, the devastation, and the trauma of losing a loved one in this way. Having said that, let's look at the all important question: how can men and boys be engaged in the fight against gender based violence? And I think I've posed this question to you many years ago as well. And I'm going to, put the question forward to you as well. Shouldn't organizations like yourself engage with the Department of Education and somehow work out a program regarding roles in society, the important roles of caregivers, and then bring in why gender based violence is not healthy for communities and societies at large? And if this is taught at school level, from primary levels at school, perhaps when these boys and women and girls reach the working world, we'll have eradicated, not completely, but part of the problem, or we'll have changed or shifted the mindsets of a lot of these people who would have ended up becoming perpetrators.
I think you're absolutely right. We need to take this issue much more seriously in schools. It has to become a national prevention project together with the Department of Education. One of the difficulties we struggle with in South Africa is that our partnerships, even with some government departments, is far from adequate. And you're right. that we need to work in the schools. But aside from working in the schools alone, it's very important that socialization within families, even with mothers, need to understand how it is that they are promoting gender-based violence. The fact that sometimes boys are given much more opportunity and are favored in the home starts to develop that kind of thinking and value system. So that has to also change. Men also need to learn to speak up. You can't have people being bystanders in our communities. Women get killed. Sometimes you see a person being abused, there may be a neighbor, but people choose to be quiet and not say anything about this. It's really important that, the person gets addressed or you can offer some sort of support or help. And that kind of raising awareness is really important. As a matter of fact, we find that many men, when they try to speak up, also get mocked by other men. And the issue of gender-based violence becomes trivialized. We also need to be sure that families don't blame victims.
I hope and pray that these are talks that are given at the members as well to address our communities. But we as Muslims shouldn't think that this doesn't happen in our homes and in our communities. Uh, that's the one side of the issue. And then, uh, in your opinion, Dr. Dangor, what role does the media play in either perpetuating or challenging harmful norms related to gender based violence?
So I think the media plays a very, very important role. It can be positive, but it can also be very negative. It's very clear that the way women are portrayed in the media is really very problematic. We see women often associated with fancy cars. We don't actually understand that, promoting a woman's half-naked body with issues in the media actually promotes and perpetuates gender equality. So the kind of advertisements that include women, it actually demeans women. Even music videos are often, created with women walking in bikinis. And this is completely unacceptable. But it's not the general media only, it's also social media that promotes harmful norms. I mean, if you look recently at X, which was previously Twitter, you see the misogynistic comments that are made by men about women, like she's asked for it, and more men are abused than women. So if you start looking at those kind of comments, it becomes very clear that you need a whole re-education and a revamping of men's understanding and society's understanding of gender-based violence in our communities.
Absolutely. Let's wrap up then, and we'll talk about the very strong message that you, as head of Executive and National Shelter Movement of South Africa, is putting out, number one. And number two, very quickly, if you can tell us about the Shelter Movement of South Africa. And I know that you are very, very active in this particular initiative.
So I think that in terms of what can be done, it's really important that a woman who's going through an abusive relationship is approached with understanding. It's critical that one doesn't blame the woman, that she doesn't feel alone, and that she understands that there are many others in the situation as well. It's very important that we acknowledge that it's very scary and difficult to talk about domestic violence, let alone leave that kind of relationship, because women are afraid for their lives. Often they feel they're going to be killed. It's very important that she knows that she doesn't deserve to be threatened, intimidated, or killed. We need to share a lot of information by discussing the importance of domestic violence. We need to support the woman. We need to allow her to make her own decisions. We need to ask her if she has suffered physical harm and whether she needs the support of a hospital or a doctor. We also need to inform her about what legal options are available. And then, which is a critical point, is to help plan safety strategies for leaving the abusive relationship if her life is threatened. That, I think, is really, really critical. Help is available, even though that help is often, limited. But organizations that do this work are really willing to go the extra mile to ensure that a woman's life is safe. So it's very important for women to talk to somebody that she trusts, to maybe get some counseling. And it's very important that as counselors or people that are helping, we listen without judgment. And for the woman to know that she does not have to be helpless because there is help available. She needs to believe that she's not to be blamed for being abused or beaten. And she needs to know that she can ask for help and decide what is best for herself.
Dr. Zubeda Dangor, we're going to have to leave it there. I hope we can talk some more in the future. You are obviously with head executive at National Shelter Movement of South Africa. Always a pleasure to have you on the show and to hear your deep insights into issues around gender-based violence and other societal issues that we are plagued with here in South Africa. Thank you once again, and till the next time, Assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you so much.
It is exactly 10 after 10 o'clock, and we are now going to be joined by my colleague, Brother Inayat Wadi, to give us a progress report on the Hamza Sha'alan tour here in South Africa. It is reaching closure within the next few days, but let's hear how it's gone thus far, inshallah.
We are here in the middle of a Zahra neighborhood. The whole neighborhood is already destroyed. More than 17 towers are down. Here, as you can see, the firefighters trying their best to help. The people are still under the rubble. A lot of the people.
Join Hamza on his exclusive South African tour as he shares his personal experiences, never before seen footage, and powerful insights on the ongoing genocide in Gaza. This is more than just a talk. It's an invitation to witness Gaza through the lens of Hamza Sha'alan. Don't miss this opportunity to meet the photojournalist who brought Gaza's pain and perseverance to the world in its darkest moments. Follow Salam Media on social media pages for more on this tour and